Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviram Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dhyanamoolam Guror Murtihi पूजामूलं गुरोर्पदं मन्त्रमूलं गुरोर्वाक्यं मोक्षमूलं गुरोर्कृपः मोक्षमूलं गुरोर्कृपः. Oh, Ramana. Thank you, Vani and Vasudev, for those very kind words. Today we will be doing manana on compassion for all. So, many of you may have gone to Swami Shivananda's Samadhi in Rishikesh. It's written very simply, be good, do good. First of all, he says, be good. Then only he says, do good. So it's not do good and then be good. So this is going to be the crux of my talk today. So let's look at the journey of any devotee. What happens in the life of a devotee? So as we see, if we look at our own lives, what has happened? We started this life with the gross, very gross negative thoughts, like negative thoughts like lust, greed, anger, hatred, jealousy, all these were there in our lives. If you look back at our lives, all these have been there and they have played a huge part in our lives. And all our sadhana, then we started a religious journey. A religious journey means we started believing in God. We believed that there was another higher force, and this God was in all the temples in Tirupati, in Shirdi, in Tiruvannamalai. All these gods were there, and we started going to these places. Then when we started going to these places, what happened? We started finding a sense of peace, a sense of goodness that started. So then we thought, oh, how do we go well in our religious journey? So we started reading books, and we realized there is this karma yoga, there is this bhakti yoga, there is this raja yoga, and this is jnana yoga. So we said, okay, in our journey, let's start this process of the yogas. So in the karma yoga, we all know what we did. We did what's called nishkama karma. We started doing, but there was a problem with karma yoga. The problem was there was dvaita. I was there and there was somebody else there. So I was doing something for somebody else. So there was a dvaita. And then was bhakti. And bhakti, what happened was the journey of bhakti also was wonderful. But God was sitting in Tirupati. God was sitting in Thiruvannamalai. God was somewhere else, and I was somewhere else. So I was in Chennai or Bangalore or wherever it was. I was separate from God. God and me were not one. So that was the second bhakti started, and we started doing bhajans. We started doing, taking God's name. We started writing God's name in a book, and we started taking His name. And then what happened? That went along, and then some guru came along and says, no, you must actually do some pranayama, you must do some Raj Yoga. And if you, because the source of the mind and the source of the breath being the same, if you do actually do pranayama, you'll be able to quieten your mind. So you start doing pranayama. Pranayama could be, anilom, vilom, bhasrika. There's so many methods of doing mind control or doing pranayama. So what happens with pranayama? When you do pranayama, you feel nice. You say, this body is there, I am doing pranayama, I am feeling good at that point of time. And then what happens? Then you have the Jnana Yoga. Then Jnana Yoga, what happens is you have there is a guru, and there are books, and there are a lot of books. We read different types of books. Then what happens? The whole journey, as we start going through this process, is you start going, still going outward. You are still Bahirmukha. You are in this realm of religion. You are going out. And what happens in this process of going out? There is Dvaita. There is two. There is you who is there, and there is God, or there is Guru, or what are the world there is out there. And this journey of doing the yogas brings you to what, like when you go to a temple, what happens? When you go to a temple, you see God, so your eyes are busy. You hear the nama being chanted, ears are busy. Agarbati is lit, so nose is busy. Mouth says Ram Ram or Ramana Ramana, whatever it is. Mouth is busy. Hands are folded. So all the five senses have come to ekagrata. They have come to single pointedness. When they've come to single pointedness, what happens? Actually, the mind quietens. Because the mind quietens, whenever you go to a temple, you think, oh yes, so I feel so nice, I'll keep going to the temple. But actually what has happened? Nothing has happened. Only a mind has become quiet. It is not running here and there. Like in Tamil, there's a word called suttarivu. It is not loitering around here and there. Mind is not going here, there, and everywhere. It is at one point. So it's come to ekagrata. But as you come out of the temple, what happens? Again, the mind starts running here, there, everywhere. So this journey, what happens is, when you get tired of this journey, then in your journey of religion, then what happens is there comes a guru. A guru is somebody who is actually a manifestation of the Supreme, who looks like each one of us. He comes. It's like Bhagawan, Ramana Maharshi. It could be anybody. It could be Swami Chidananda, Swami Shivananda. My guru is Swami Chidananda. And these gurus, what they do, they will say, like what Bhagawan says, he'll say, Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahma Matram. So he'll say, oh, devotee, where are you looking for me? I am actually in your heart. So suddenly, what was your definition of compassion? When you were in Bahirmukha and looking in the world, then what was your concept of compassion? Concept of compassion was that I should not do anything wrong to anybody. I should speak kindly. I should apologize in case I do something wrong. I should offer help to others. Be happy for somebody's success. All these points were there when you were in the looking outwards. But then what happened? Suddenly, Bhagavan says, You says, Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahma Matram. In the cave of your heart, Bhagavan only is there. So, then what happens? Then you wonder, what's this? I've been going to Tiruvannamalai, or I've been going to Tirupati, and I've been trying to go and look for God. And then suddenly this guru comes along and says that actually, Hriday, it's like when you say, "Who am I?" you are actually tapping the right hand side of your chest. And Bhagavan says, when you say, "Who am I?" the spiritual heart is to the right of your chest. And Bhagavan says, "I am actually there. I am in that place." Oh, really? So then what was this point of me going to all these temples and all this stuff? So those were all. If you're going from one place to Tiruvannamalai, what happens? You have to catch an auto rickshaw, catch the train, catch another auto rickshaw from there, and that's when you reach Ramanashramam. When you reach Ramanashramam, what happens? Those auto rickshaws and the train and another auto rickshaw were important at that point of time. But once you reach Ramanashram, so exactly the same thing. Bhagavan says that Hridaya Kohara Madhye Kevalam Brahma Matram. So now the way you were looking at the world, the way you were looking at religion has suddenly changed. So this is what we call spiritualities. Spirituality is living in the spirit. So suddenly this jiva which is outward going, which is Bahirmukha, Bhagavan says you have to turn it inwards. Now, this whole journey of inwards is not very simple, because if you really see the whole Bhagavad Gita, so many verses, 600 verses, were written for what? Because of Arjuna's mind. So the mind is not a very simple organ to be able to control. But let us try and understand, what is this mind. So you see, the mind is basically made up of thoughts. Now, where are the thoughts? In biology, when we were in school, we were never taught about an organ called the mind. There is no organ called the mind, but it's only actually thoughts. Now, how does the thoughts come? As you wake up in the morning, tomorrow morning when you wake up, you will experience a sense of silence. Before what happens, this spiritual heart cranks up the brain, which cranks up the mind, which cranks up all this body and the senses, and then the world wakes up. When the world wakes up, you also wake up. So what happens? The world wakes up, and you think that the world is real. Now, what happens in compassion? Now, let us try and see examples of compassion of great ones, and see what Bhagawan and Chidananda, what they meant by compassion. Now, if you really see Bhagawan, one day in Arunachala, there were few laborers who were told to actually go and pluck some mangoes. So what they did, they, instead of climbing the tree and plucking the mangoes, what they did was they actually took a stick and started beating the tree, and along with the mangoes, the leaves also started falling down. And Bhagavan, hearing that sound, he was very, very upset. So he went to those laborers and told them to stop, beating the tree. And what happened? He says that you were told to only pluck the mangoes, but what are you doing? You are beating the tree, and all the leaves are falling off, and you're giving pain to the tree. Now, this is something that happens every day. Whenever you're walking anywhere, somebody is plucking. When you go to Tiruvannamalai, you'll see the trees on the side. Somebody is trying to pluck something, and they'll throw a stone. The leaves will fall. Who bothers about it? Nobody bothers about it. But those leaves are actually giving us oxygen. We live here, we live on this surface of the earth because of those leaves. And Bhagavan is so compassionate that he actually shouted at those laborers and said that you have to show compassion to the tree. Similarly, Swami Chidananda, he said he used to his purpose of life was lepers. So in Rishikesh, what he did was he brought lepers from wherever they were and treated them like deities, treated them like God. And in one case, there was a dog which has had rabies. So Swami Chidananda brought the dog to the ashram, and the dog was stinking. And the other sadhus came to Swami Shivananda and told him, that this Swami Chidananda has brought this dog, so let's throw that dog out because it's smelling too much. So Swami Shivananda said that if you want to leave the ashram, you can go, but that dog is not going out. And Swami Chidananda slept with that dog for 3 months and nursed it and made it well and then let it go. So they take the great ones take compassion to an absolutely another level altogether. Now let us try and understand, we in our journey, what is compassion and what is all, because this is very important in our journey to understand what is all. All means there is you and there's somebody else, or there's some more people apart from you who are all there, and they are to be, you have to show compassion to them. Now let's see what Bhagawan has to say in this whole journey. Now, says Hridaya Kohare Madhye Kevalam Brahma Matram, he means that this Atma is there in everybody. Now, the important thing, like we are having a satsang today, what is this satsang about? The satsang is about knowing the truth. What is the truth? The Atma, what you may call it Atman, you may call it Brahman, you may call it consciousness, you may call it God, you may call it anything. It really doesn't matter. What is it that each one in the heart, cave of heart of every being, the Atman is there, the God is there. Now, that doesn't mean that an elephant has a big Atman and the ant has a small Atman. No, both have the same. It's like if you go to a jewelry shop, what happens? You see golden ornaments. Now, what is there? What is the common thing among all the golden ornaments? If you take a jeweler or a goldsmith to a Tanishq showroom, he will say everything is gold and there is nothing but gold. But if you take an ordinary person to a Tanishq showroom, what will he say? He will say, oh, this is some beautiful design. He sees the covering. He really does not see the gold. Similarly, a pot and clay. Now you take a potter, he'll say all these pots, these beautiful pots, which are actually painted so beautifully, the big ones and the small ones are actually clay. So now the great ones say this is a very important aspect in sadhana, the aspect about what are you made up of. So Bhagavan says that in each one of us is the consciousness. So if consciousness pervades this whole body. So I like the gold pervades all the ornaments. I like the clay pervades all the pots. The consciousness pervades each one of us. Now, if you remove the gold from the ornament, what happens to the ornament? There's no more ornament. If you remove the clay from the pot, what happens to the pot? No more pot. So if you remove the consciousness from this manifested body, then what happens? There's nothing. There's no more. This becomes jada. This body is jada. Now, one thing we must understand is that how do we show compassion to somebody else? So the great ones say, you first try and understand who you are. See, this is a very important thing in the spiritual journey, and this happens only in the spiritual journey, not in the religious journey. In the religious domain, what happens? We see some beggar out there. We see he needs some, winter is coming. We need to give him a blanket, so we show compassion. That's at a physical level. But Bhagwan is trying to take us to an absolutely another level altogether. So what is he's trying to say? He's trying to tell you is, what is this? First of all, do you really know who you are? Unless you know who you are, that's what Swami Shivananda is also trying to say. He's saying, be good and do good. He is not saying do good and be good. That means he doesn't say you go run after, and if you want to do nishkama karma, you go on distributing food to everybody. No, he doesn't say that. He says, be good. So, what are you, each one of us, being at this moment of time? That's what matters. So, like for example, if each one of us, the great ones say, it's like a disease. If you have disease in this body, if you have whatever temperature in this body, he says that's the secondary disease. The first disease is you really do not know who you are. You think you are this body, mind, ego complex, and because of which, that's the first disease. So unless you cure the first disease, then only the other diseases can be cured. So importantly, what Bhagavan is trying to say is, first find out who you are. Unless you find out who you are, then only you will know what you're trying to achieve and what you're trying to do. So what is Bhagavan is trying to say is, like devotees ask, there are different devotees ask. He says, one devotee says, I have one desire for moksha. So what happened was, a devotee was walking up behind Bhagavan. So when he was walking up behind Bhagavan, he had come from some far place and he was walking up behind Bhagavan up Arunachala. So he asked Bhagavan, so Bhagavan said, go back. From where you have come, go back. He just told him that. Now, this devotee had actually spent many days in traveling to get an upadesha from Bhagavan. And Bhagavan told him to go back. And he was extremely disappointed. But he came back to the and told the other devotees. The other devotees said, that is the greatest upadesha that Bhagavan has given you. You have left the Atman, you have left who you really are, and you are going out in time and space, in name and form. You're going out and saying, oh, this is real, this is real, this is real. So, like the great ones say, Brahmam Satyam Jagat Mitya Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. It means you are that truth. It's like the musk deer. The musk deer, what does it say? It from the navel of the musk deer is all the beautiful, lovely smell that's coming out. And where is the musk deer looking for? The musk deer is looking for here, there, everywhere for the smell, not knowing that actually it is coming from within himself. So the important thing, again, this is a very important thing in spiritualism versus religion, is that when you walk the path of spirituality, you are becoming antarmukha. You are going inwards. In the process of going inwards, what does compassion mean? The great ones say, first you find out who you are. And if you really see, there have been many devotees who have come and asked Bhagwan, I have this question, I have that question. Like, for example, there was two pigeons which were brought in front of Bhagwan, and they were kept on Bhagwan's lap, and they sat on Bhagwan's lap for 1 hour without moving. And they were an absolute, samadhi state, both of them were. And then afterward, they were put into a cage, and Bhagwan told them, go inside the cage. Now, Bhagavan says, even in the case of a leopard also, the same thing happened. Now, the leopard came and it roared once, drank the water, roared, and again went away. And the devotees were very scared. But Bhagavan says, you do not know, there are in Arunachala, there are great siddhas, there are great souls who are actually trying to get my darshan, and they are coming in different forms. So, all of us finally are trying to get to understand who we really are. So, the purpose of human life is really to understand who we really are. And there is absolutely no other purpose, because Bhagavan, like Bhagavan told his mother, based on prarabdha, whatever is to happen will happen. Whatever is not to happen will never happen. However hard you might try, so best thing is to be quiet. So what happens? Prarabdha is working for each one of us. Right now, as for Prarabdha, I am actually speaking right now because of my Prarabdha. And some of you are listening because of the Prarabdha. This is written. And this is bound to happen. Now, Bhagavan says, then what is the free choice you have? So this is a very important thing in sadhana. We think, oh, if I don't have any choice, I have to listen to Venkatesh at this point of time, then what is my free choice? The choice that each one of us has, listen to me very careful, the choice that each one of us have is to inquire and find out who we are. Now, like right now, if you think, who is listening to this talk? You have so many people. There's a Geeta, there's a Meghna, there's Shrikant, Vasudev, Archana, Bhuvanagiri. There's so many people who are in this call. Now, who is actually the listener? Swami Shivananda says, find the knower, find the seer, find the taster, find the smeller, find the hearer. Find out who's hearing. Are you hearing? Is this body hearing? Body jada. Body is absolutely got no intelligence of its own. This ears, which is this mouth that is speaking, is just one piece of flesh which is moving up and down. But how is it moving? It is moving because of the self. It's because of the Atman that this is happening. And you're able to hear me because of that Atman. That's the most subtle thing. Like if you see, eyes see an object, eyes more subtle, mind is subtler, intellect is more subtle, and the subtlest is the self, is the Atman, is the consciousness. Do you see that? No. Why? You cannot get a hold of that. There's nothing to hold inside. Outside, there are things to hold. But this journey of the self, unless you take this journey, see, they always say there is few things that happen in life. One is, all of us have, one thing is born in India, very difficult. Number two, you have mumukshutva, longing for God, more difficult. Third, you have a guru like Ramana, impossible situation. It's practically impossible. How many people are there in this call itself? How many people are in the universe? Very difficult. So you must grab this opportunity to inquire and find out, who am I really? That's why Bhagavan says, find out that disease, that first disease, find that first I thought which comes up, that first I thought in the morning, whenever that first I thought rises, because of which all other thoughts come, the world rises, you rise, all this thing happens. But Bhagavan says beautifully that something that has to be true all the time. So what is it that's true all the time? This body was not there in deep sleep. The body was there there was a dream body in the dream, and in the waking, there's a waking body. But Bhagavan says, important thing, the consciousness was there in all three states. If you, the consciousness, were there in all three states, then that is the reality. Once you understand that, then you understand, oh, actually, I was always mistaking myself to be this body. So, actually, in this body, if you really look at it, there is this jada, this body jada. It's this bag of flesh and bones. And behind this is the Atma, this consciousness, which is all powerful. Now, in between this, because of our vasanas, because of prarabdha, it could be sanchita karmas, it could be prarabdha karma or agami karma, this little, this mind wakes up. Now, this mind is part of the consciousness. It's not apart from the consciousness. But because of the vasana, this ego or I-ness makes you bahirmukha. It does not allow you to go inside. Because otherwise, then what will happen? There is no value for this. It's like a man who is in a wedding. He is actually very well dressed, and the boys people think he's from the girls' side, the girls people think he's from the boys' side, and both of them are wondering from where is he come. Suddenly what happens? Both of them come together and ask, who's that fellow? And he runs away. The mind is exactly like that. The mind is right now, it's doing what it's doing. It's doing a veiling. It's doing a covering. It does not want you to see the self. Because then what happens to the value of the mind? Nothing. So Bhagawan says that if you inquire into anything, what happens? When you inquire into something, it loses its grip. So that's why self-inquiry is very important. When you keep inquiring, then what happens? This mind will become quiet and become antarmukha and go and merge into the self. Then what happens? You will have like Bhagavan says in the Eka Shloki, Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahma Matram Yahamahamiti Sakshat Atma Rupena Bhati Hridaya Vishamanasaswam Chinvata Majjatava Pavana Chalana Rodhat Atmanishto Bhavatvam. In the interior of the heart cave, Brahman alone shines in the form of the self with direct immediacy as I. Enter into the heart with an inquiring mind, diving deep within, breath controlled, and be firmly poised in the self. So this Ekrit has got all the truth. When you are actually in the self, then you are showing true compassion. Why? Because what happens? If once you realize your truth is that Satchidananda Atman, then what is the truth of everybody else? The truth of everybody else is also that Satchidananda Atman. If the truth of everybody is only the Satchidananda Atman, then who is there to show compassion to whom? See, it's a very funny situation, but that's what it is. You'll realize as you keep going inside and inside and inside, you will realize that actually what is within is without. It's like the space in the pot. The space inside the pot and the space outside the pot are actually both the same. When you actually break the pot, then what happens? It's the same space. So this consciousness is within and without. Because what's the nature of God? The nature of God is he or she is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Omnipresent means what? Where is he or she not? He or she is everywhere. So if he or she is everywhere and everybody is the nature of Satchidananda Atman, then when you actually are showing compassion, whom are you showing compassion for? So when you do good to somebody else, actually you're doing good to yourself. This is a beautiful thing about Advaita Vedanta. It is like putting a mirror in front of your face. When you put a mirror in front of your face, what happens? It is like everything is you only. There's nobody else but you. And once you realize that there's nothing else but you, then who is there to do what? When you come to compassion for all, then what does all mean? There's no all. There's only that ekam. See, when you were in the religious path, what happens? There was Dvaita. There was somebody else where whom you had to actually do some seva to. Because you had to do seva, you felt good and felt, oh yes, I am doing good for somebody else, and it gives you some pleasure. It gives you some sense of, oh, I did something good today. I feel nice. It's good. Nothing wrong with it. But as devotees of Bhagavan, we have to see this life is very short. Everybody thinks, oh, I'm going to live for another 20 years. But 20 years into 365 is only 7,000 odd, 7,300 maybe. So if you sleep 7,300 times, you're gone. Your life is finished. So when will you try and understand who you are? So when you're saying compassion for all, first of all, Bhagavan is trying to tell us, find out who you are. He says, first you reform yourself. See, I want to do good for others, I've got, I think I'm blessed, I can do reform for others. No, Bhagavan says no. First reform yourself. When you point one finger to somebody else, remember the three fingers pointing towards you. So first reform yourself. Once you reform yourself, then what happens? Bhagavan says in some text, he says, before reforming the world, destroy your insurgent mind. He says, without first filling your own heart with self-knowledge, what aid can you give and to whom? He beautifully says, so important thing in this journey is really to inquire and find out who you really are. Once you know your reality. See, this is what, so the Bhagavan, what did he do? When anybody came to him and asked a question, he would counter question. If somebody says, I want moksha, Bhagavan says, what is moksha? Please tell me what is moksha. The devotee wouldn't know. He says, oh, I want to be in samadhi. Oh, what is samadhi? Please tell me what do you mean by samadhi. Why that questioning power? Its questioning is very, very important in sadhana because it will take you to who you really are. And as you keep going inwards and inwards and inwards, then you realize who you really are. When you realize who you are, then what happens? Then you realize compassion, what you really mean by compassion. That means, now, why would a devotee go in front of Bhagavan and in front of Bhagavan and all the questions will evaporate? That's great compassion that Bhagavan is showing. Why? Because he is in a state of stillness. He is total awareness. So the sages are total awareness, but absolute stillness. They don't move. When Atmanishtot Bhavatvam means what? You're established in that stillness within. And you don't move. What does Jesus say? Jesus say, be still and know that I am God. So all the great roles. So what's the nature of God? See, this is very important. If you have to show compassion, first of all, you must know who you are. And how do you know who you are in this journey? Are you moving in the right direction or not? Otherwise, if you're going in any direction, it doesn't matter. Because what happens, there is this spiritual tourism. Nowadays, you can go and hear anybody. The great ones who are speaking all the time. But what are they speaking about? Only one thing. Tat Tvam Asi. You are that. That's all. There are nobody, all the Upanishads, all the Kevalam Brahma Matram, you are what you're looking for. Tattvam Asi, you are that. Jesus says, thou art that. So if you are that, and then if you are in, I am actually that what I was looking for. Now, if you keep on doing self-inquiry, what happens? The mind goes back to its source. As that mind goes back to its source, then when you are actually doing anything, you are, first of all, you're fit to be able to help somebody. Otherwise, what happens? You got your own doubts in your mind and you are not able to help yourself. How can you help somebody else? So this is the next level of compassion that the gurus and the great ones have. Now, when you're established in the self and everybody's reality is actually the self, then actually you're doing the greatest good for everybody. This is another thing that we need to understand, because people who come to Bhagawan and say, what is this man doing? He's sitting quietly. He's not doing anything. He jokes here, jokes there. And I don't know what he is doing. I'm used to a sadhu who's staying in a cave, who goes in for some time, comes out, gives some prachara, and all those things, has a beard. I'm used to that. So we have templatized our think about our guru. The guru should look like this. Bhagwan does not look like the guru. We know of H.W.L. Punjaji. Punjaji was a great devotee. He came in front of Bhagawan and said, oh, Bhagawan, he said, all these people are fools sitting in front of Bhagawan quietly, and Bhagawan is also sitting quietly doing nothing. So he went on the other side of Arunachala, and after 3 days, he came to Bhagawan with a lot of enthusiasm and said, Bhagawan, I was playing with Krishna. Oh, you were playing with Krishna. Bhagawan asked him, where is your Krishna now? And suddenly what happened was, Punjaji realized, oh, actually he was the Krishna. He had to call Krishna and he had to come, and then he would play with him. But who's Krishna? What's the nature of Krishna? Even if you get all the punya in this janma, you go to any loka, higher up lokas, there also, if they'll say, Venkatesh, you come down, come sit down and do self-inquiry. Because if you really do not know who you really are, they will ask you to do Atma Vichara. Atma Vichara, what happens is, that I-ness goes away, that ego goes away, and what happens is another thing called I. Atmanishto Bhavatmam. This I is another God current. Then once you hold on to that I, that God current, it takes you to that stillness. And that stillness will go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And as you get deeper, they said, if there is one jnani in a family, 7 generations earlier and 7 generations later get greatly benefited by one jnani being in that. So that is great compassion. So once in spiritual life, what happens is a sage or a saint does not have to run around here, there, everywhere. Bhagwan for 52 years was in one place. He didn't move. Why? There were 2 world wars that happened when he was alive. There was plague that happened. There was disease that happened. Bhagwan did not do anything. He said, I will be established in the self. Why? For a sage, what happens is he is established for the greatest good. The greatest good means what? The greatest compassion he has as the guru is he's established in the self. And before he left the body, what did Bhagavan say, where can I go? He's telling his devotees, where can I go? You have been following this body till 1950. But after 1950, where can I go? Why is he saying that? Because he's saying that the truth of him is not this body, mind, ego, intellect, what we are thinking about. So as and when we go deeper and deeper and deeper into who we are, we realize that our reality is that Satchidananda Atman. When you are in that when you are established in that source, then you are doing the greatest good. This is what all the great ones are saying. And this is, compassion has absolutely a different meaning. There are two things which have a different meaning. One is compassion, and number two is all. In all what happens, there is no more Dvaita. There is only Advaita. There is only one. And that's what who you are. Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. You are that. And we know that beautiful story of Janaka and Ashtavakra, where Janaka asks, is the dream true or is the waking true? Ashtavakra said, were you there in the dream? Yes. Were you there? Are you there right now in the waking? Yes. So you are that truth. So Bhagavan is trying to tell us the same thing. And we should never lose this focus, whatever may be the circumstances. Bhagavan did not do anything when the world wars were going on. He was only established in the self, because that's the only truth. So everything is there's a beautiful thing like Swami Shivananda wrote. He says, we are not human beings. He says, we are not human beings. We are acting like human beings. We are not human beings. We're acting like human beings, but actually we are divine. It's a beautiful thing. The crux, the real thing in this body is that divinity. So once you understand your truth is that divinity, and all the truth of all the people who are in the satsang or everywhere is that divinity, then who will show compassion to whom? First one, there is Ekam, there is only one, which is the truth, which is the self. So compassion to all is only one. So if you're able to show compassion to yourself and able to exercise do self-inquiry and try and understand who you are, then what happens? Whatever you become an instrument, beautiful instrument of the Lord, instrument of God. Then whatever it needs to be done, when you're totally surrendered to the Lord, then what happens? This instrument, if it has to do something, it'll keep on doing. You're not worried about it anymore, because this body, this mind, this intellect, you have offered to the Lord, to the God. Once you're offered, then if this has to in the source, it no more concerns you at all, because you actually become a instrument of God. It's like the knife in your kitchen. The knife in the kitchen doesn't say, I will only cut vegetables. I can cut fruit, I can cut meat, I can cut anything. You can use it for whatever you want. So exactly the same thing. You become an instrument. So the first thing that happens in the spiritual line is you realize that first of all you have to grow yourself into that absolute stillness. And when you get into that absolute stillness, then what happens? It's like Bhagavan says, you're like a first class passenger sitting in a train. You don't keep the luggage on your lap. What happens? You just enjoy the ride, and then whatever has to be done will get done. So once we understand this very, very clearly, with absolute clarity, unless we keep on inquiring and then realize this this ego is actually playing the fool. It's been tricking us, and we keep on inquiring. Each thought that rises, You're leaving the self. Each thought that rises, you're leaving the self. Bhagavan says, ask for whom is this thought? For me, who am I? As you keep doing self inquiry, the mind will not go out. When the mind does not go out, you are with the self. And when you are with the self, you are with the Atman. And then you are with that omnipresent God. You are no more apart from Him. Bhagavan says there's no distance. See, in Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga, you think that God is somewhere else and you are somewhere else. Bhagavan says there's no distance between you and the self. You and the self are one. So the more and more you do self-inquiry, you will realize that you are that. And once you realize you are that, then you, whatever you do, Bhagavan says, it'll be compassion. And you will do that, it'll be done so perfectly well, whatever this body does, then what happens? There is no Dvaita at all. There's only you. And when it's only you, then who does show compassion to whom? Then all what Shivananda says is be good. Simple, be good. When you are being, it's no more doing. See, till now in karma, bhakti, jnana, and Raja Yoga, you're all the time doing. Bhagavan says, move from doing to being. When you start being, you're being in the self, then what happens? First, you be good, and then automatically, if you this instrument has to do any good, then it will automatically do. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Thank you, Venkatesh ji, for this